Hey friends, and welcome to the Happy Hour. I'm so glad you're here. I'm your host, Jamie Ivey, and I host this Happy Hour podcast every single week where I invite a girlfriend or two to join me and we just sit and chat about life. It's as if we really were meeting up at a coffee shop to enjoy a glass of coffee together or happy hour and having a glass of wine together. It's just real life and real conversation, and we'd like to invite you to come along with us. So welcome to the Happy Hour. Today, my guest is Lindsey Paschal, and she is a friend of mine that I met at a book club through my mutual friend, Megan. I really started following Lindsey's book reading last year when she vowed to read 52 books. And so I was just amazed at how she was just knocking down books left and right. 52 may seem like nothing for you, or it may seem like a crazy amount for you. Whatever your book reading goal is for 2015, we hope that you make it. I made a new goal this year on this podcast with Lindsey, so I hope to meet that goal. We also talked about her life as a new mom. She has 2 kids now. She just had a baby in the fall, and so how's that looking for her? And we talk about books, books, and books. So if you are the person that wants to get tons of new books to read this year, we have a lot for you. Don't worry about grabbing a pen and paper. I wrote down every single book over at jamieivey.com where you can find links to buy them all. I took care of you. Don't worry. So thank you so much for listening. Before we get going, I want to say 2 thank yous. Number 1, someone left a comment over on iTunes that said, I'm enjoying Happy Hour thanks to a sincere and authentic host with a variety of passionate and knowledgeable guests. I'm leaving a comment because of the episode featuring Becca and Maris, which highlighted foster care. Thank you. Such a powerful topic. This was a real conversation about something which can be glossed over, stigmatized, or ignored. Thank you for dialoguing truthfully. I volunteer with CASA and see how critical, phenomenal foster families are. So thank you for raising awareness and sharing so openly. Thanks for leaving your comment. And Becca and Maris was a great episode where we talk about foster care a lot. Both of them been foster parents, and Becca has actually adopted her 2 boys. One more comment from Deb over on the iTunes. This person said, love, love, love this podcast. My husband and I moved to China this year, and as I find myself missing Texas at times, this podcast has been a little nook of comfort for me. I listen to it while I run and while I do housework, and it really does feel like I'm right back at home with a couple of friends. I also just love being inspired, encouraged, and creatively mused by the amazing women friends of yours. Y'all are awesome. Keep them coming. Thank you so much. And it is so true. I do have some amazing, wonderful women on this show. And so kudos to all of them for sharing their life with you. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Here is my friend, Lindsey. Hey, Lindsey, welcome to the Happy Hour.
Hey, Jamie.
Thanks so much. Me. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And I need everyone to know that this is really, really, really cool that you're here because you have a 3-week-old.
I have a 3-week-old.
And
yes.
How old is your other son?
2.
So you have a 3-week-old and a 2-year-old, and you're giving me an hour of your time. This is amazing.
One is napping. One will be napping with his father soon. So
fun.
We're good. Yeah.
Okay, so how far apart are they?
So they're 2 years, 3 months, almost exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's a good age. It's been good so far.
So fun. The last newborn that I had in my house was Deacon, and that was 9 years ago. So I am so past this newborn stuff.
Yeah. I remember you saying, like, your feelings about, am I done? Mm-hmm. Is this all? Is my family complete? And I kind of feel like, hey, I feel pretty complete right now with 2 kids.
That's
I wonder
good.
how I'll feel.
It could be the hormones with a 3-week-old.
Yeah.
It could be your body saying, don't make me do this again for a while. You don't know. Yeah. We'll have to see what those feel like in a couple weeks.
We'll be for a while. Yeah.
So fun.
We're content for a while. Yes.
And 2 boys. I had 2 boys to start with as well. So fun.
I do. I like it. I don't know that I would be a good girl mom.
I say all the time, because I had 3 boys and 1 girl. If I had to have 3 girls and 1 boy, I think I would be insane.
Yeah. Well, I just say, I don't want a little me running around the house.
You're like, I don't want
to raise myself.
You're like, Dan has 1 of me. He doesn't need 2 of me.
Yeah. So I just got a house full of boys, and I'm pretty content for now. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, Lindsey, you and I, did we meet at a book club? Is that where we met?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we definitely met at the book club.
A couple of years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, our friend Megan, who she was on the podcast before, she had a book club, and that's where we met.
Yeah.
And before you started staying home with your children, you were a teacher, right?
Yes.
What grade?
Yeah, so I taught elementary school, 2nd grade most recently, but I've done 2nd and kinder. So I taught for 3 years and then had my first son, and I'm just staying home, but I will go back to education at some point.
Do you love it?
Don't know. I do, and I I mean, I think I want to go back and get a master's degree in something, not administration. I don't have dreams of being a principal or anything like that, but probably something in the special education field or diagnostician work, that kind of thing. But so I'll get back. I'm not done. I'm not retired.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always said, I taught school too before I had kids. And I always said that I would go back after all my kids started school. And so I'm not. I found something else that I love.
Yeah.
Podcasting. And so, hello. But I sub at my kids' school every once in a while.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about this before. I started doing it because I think you can tell a lot about a teacher when you're in her room, even when she's not there.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in several different classrooms at my kids' school, and I can tell the way teachers run their classrooms just from the way their kids act, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And the way the room's set up, everything. So I'm like, I want to get to know my kids' teachers that way, like when they're not there, and see how things go. And so I kind of started out just subbing for my kids' teachers, which I will say yes more to them than other kids. But let me tell you, I have been in a kindergarten classroom before. That to me is the worst classroom in the entire world. Like, I do not know how kindergarten teachers do that day in and day out. And then some of them go home and parent. Like, I was just done. When I subbed in kindergarten, I came home and the kids started asking me questions. And I was like, I have no more. I have nothing left for you. These children sucked me dry all day. Yeah. It was hard.
Yeah, kinder was hard. When I taught kinder, I lived in Houston and I taught in inner city Houston ISD. And I was the only English-speaking teacher in kindergarten. The rest were bilingual classrooms. And I was not even married yet, and a completely different person back then as far as what I understood of kids and such. And now that I have kids, I tell people all the time, I must have been an awful teacher, because now I see kids through the eyes of a parent. And I think I was probably too hard on my kids or expected too much or not compassionate enough. And so now I want a do-over. I feel like going and telling all these poor kindergarten kids, like, I probably scared you to death, expecting so much of you and not really knowing. So I'm going to get a do-over, and I'm going to see all my new kids one day out of the eyes of a parent.
You know, you say that, it's funny because
all of these kids, I'm sorry.
I can see some of my kids' teachers and some of them, like past and current, all that kind of stuff, that have kids. I can see a little bit more graciousness through them.
Yeah.
And even ones that just have little kids, like they don't have any in elementary school. You know, I just want to like say sometimes, like, you never know, your kid might do this one day too. Like,
oh yeah,
watch out.
Oh yeah. I want to say to every kid now, or whenever I teach or get upset or want to discipline, okay, how would their parent right now see them? And how would their parent want to discipline them? And how would their parent, or what is a way that I will discipline them well or take care of them well that I would not be ashamed of their parents seeing?
Yeah, that's so good.
You know, because kindergarten, first year teaching, I lost my cool so many times, but at the same time, parents thought I was a great teacher. So I'll do it over.
Hard. Teaching is so hard. I'm like, want to just like kiss my kids' teachers and just tell them thank you. So, because they do such like hard stuff.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so teacher, now stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
Would you say that transition was good, easy, hard, crazy?
It was good in the way that I live right next to an elementary school. So when I had my first one and I would drive by and see teachers going to school and parents and all the kids, I would never feel, I wish I was there. I never really desired to be there. But with my first son, I had a really hard time adjusting to parenthood. I went through a lot of severe baby blues. I probably should have sought some help. I cried a lot. So that was hard.
Yeah.
I did not give myself grace. I had a really hard time for about 4 months. So it was, there were pros and cons, but I never wished, I was in the classroom instead of at home with my son. And I still feel that way. Like, I want to be with my kids. And I know now that I am teaching them here.
Yeah.
And my job right now is very important,
Yeah.
raising them. But one day, I mean, I know I'll get in a strong pull to go back. But it was a hard transition for a couple of reasons. Yeah.
Well, it seems like a lot of transitions at once. You know, you're
Yeah.
leaving a job. And a lot of times we find our identity in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I had two little ones at home. Caden and Deacon are 22 months apart. So I had two little ones at home. And at this time in our life, we lived in Nashville, not close to any family. And Aaron traveled at this point. I mean, it was some ungodly number, like 220 days a year or something. I mean, he was gone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like so many days just like searching for jobs because I was just like, because I just felt so stuck at home with these babies. And I just kept thinking to myself, I can do more than this. Like I'm worth more to our family than this. And it was such a lie that I was believing because my kids needed me. I mean, especially since their dad was traveling so much, they needed, a parent. So I remember going through waves where I was like, I love being a mom full time. And then I'd be like, I want to go back to teaching. And so it's hard. I remember, and also Story went back to school. She's in first grade now. So last year was my first time to have all 4 kids in school. And I kind of went through an identity crisis then of just like, okay, now what?
Who am I?
Who am I? For so many years, 10 years, I've had a child next to me and now I have all these hours in the day. So I think we do struggle with like identity. Like, what is my role right now? Mm-hmm. Which is so hard.
I did big time. And I got to the point where I was telling Dan, I felt like all that I was good for was being a mom. And so like when anytime family would come into town, the questions would be all about, well, how is Hudson doing? Mm-hmm. How's the kids doing? And it was never that I had anything to me except for raising this kid. Mm-hmm. Like that's all I'm good for. And so we got to the point where we had to say, okay, Lindsey, you've got to have some hobby. You've got to have something else that is different. And so I went through like the women's development program at our church and eventually through Megan's urging, our friend Megan we mentioned, became a CASA and had that and did some work with our children's ministry, that kind of thing. But I definitely had to seek out, okay, where can I be needed besides being a mom? But also what was I finding my value in? Yeah.
And that's interesting. You mentioned the women's development program in our church, and that's something that our church has done. And I went through it as well. And I remember on one of our trips that we were taking, I think it was the first year I went on a trip with them, and everyone in my group were moms. Mm-hmm. And so we're leaving our kids to go overseas without our husbands it ended up being about 9 days or travel days in. And some people really, really, really struggled with it. It was really, really hard for them. And a friend of ours, really spoke some really good wisdom into us. And she's like, what you get to do when you go over there is that you get to be what you are first. And that's a follower of Jesus. Yeah. And she's like, you're a mom second to that. And so when you do this, you're fulfilling your first calling and your most important calling. And I remember when she said that, I was like, that makes sense in everything we do in life. We can find so much of our value in our mothering, but really that's not our first calling. Like our first calling is to Jesus. And so I'll never forget that. And it puts so much in perspective.
Yeah. I need to teach myself
we
that.
We need to
every
write
day.
that on the wall.
I know.
Your first calling is to Jesus. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is second. Marriage, kids, job, everything. Yeah. Okay, Lindsey, the one thing that I have loved about 2014 is following you reading books. Yeah. Now you may think this sounds weird, like, oh, she's just reading books, but you set out to read 52 books this year.
I did.
Which to me, just saying that out loud, that sounds absolutely ludicrous and crazy. But I love it. A couple years ago, I made a New Year's resolution to read 12. and I made it. Yeah. But since I made that, I've actually read more and more every year.
Yeah.
So I actually added up how many I read the other day. I need to tell you.
I think you said 28, right?
Did I tell you? Did I write? Oh, I put that on Twitter, on Instagram. Yeah. Okay, so I read 28 books this year.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That to me is huge.
It is huge, especially considering that from August to December, I think I've read 6. So
you loaded up front.
I loaded up the first in January. I think I read like 7 or 8. Which really, what happens is I was just finishing books I've already started. Mm-hmm. I still counted them because it helped me with numbers.
You finished them.
So what made you decide to do 52 books?
52 weeks in a year. I really don't know because I've always loved reading. I've always been the kind of person that needs to have a book that I'm reading through. Regardless of how long it takes me to read, if I finish a book, I always think, okay, what's next? And so towards the end of last year, I was reading a lot. And then I think what started it is, so I record all my books on Goodreads, and get a lot of suggestions and things from there. And so they posted that they had this reading challenge. You could, challenge yourself to however many books you want to read. And so I just said, okay, 52 weeks in a year, and set out to do it. And I think at the beginning, I was kind of like plowing through like every 3 to 4 days, and
that is so crazy.
Pat myself on the back. I'm doing so good.
It's crazy, Lindsey.
But I will say, because people have said like, you're nuts. I can't believe you read so much. We don't have cable at our house.
I was going to ask you if you watch TV.
We don't. I watched 3 shows.
What are they? Tell us that.
I watched Scandal, Revenge, and Parenthood. Those are like my shows.
But that's only like 3 hours a week. So, it's really not even that much time.
We're not big TV watchers. Our first one goes to bed at 7:30. My husband does all the dishes. I can sit on the couch and read. And I also will read a lot, like at the gym, on the treadmill, that kind of thing. So
Have you listened to any of these, or have all of these been read with your eyes?
No, I've read them with my eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this. And do you own all of these books, or do you check out from the library?
So, no, I am a big library fan. I love my library. It has a drive-through.
Perfect.
So, like, I get online, I request a book, they tell me it's ready, I drive through and pick it up.
Oh, you don't have to get out to pick it up?
No, it's
that's
amazing.
The best.
Yeah, so I drive through, get it. So most of them I get through the library, and then last Christmas I got a Kindle, and so you can check out ebooks that way too. So I would say probably of these like 50 some odd books I've read this year, I probably own 10. And my rule for like buying books is if I think it's a book I'm going to want to highlight or reference back to.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I'll buy it. But novels, memoirs, that kind of thing, I wait for the library.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of like you with library versus owning. I like to check out from the library as well, especially if it's nothing I want to keep. But then if I'm reading a book and I'm like, this is one of the best books I've ever read, I will sometimes buy it just because I want to own it.
Yes.
Just in case. But I also am not a double reader. Like, I think reading books, again, is like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my entire life. Because of the vast amount of literature that there is out there, why would I want to read something again? But a lot of people, they disagree with me a lot. And some of you are listening, you're like, no, some books are worth reading every year. I don't know. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. I have 2 books in my head right now that I want to read again.
Which ones?
Unbroken. So I read it like 3 years ago. I want to read it again because it's coming out. Yes. And then you and I have talked about this book, Cutting for Stone, my favorite of all time.
Yes.
So I think it might be time to pick that up again. But I also have a list of new ones.
I know, right?
No, it's going to take a back seat.
Hey, speaking of Unbroken, one of my favorite gifts I bought this year, I don't know if I told you this or not, was there is a young adult version of Unbroken.
No way.
Yes, and I got it from my oldest, Caden, and I cannot wait for him to read it because I loved that story so much. And so that's going to be fun. I know. And then we'll go see the movie, and if it's age appropriate, which I don't know.
Yeah.
After he's read that young adult one, we'll see, but I don't know.
Yeah. Some of those scenes might be pretty brutal.
Yeah, pretty hard. Yeah. Okay, so I want to go through all 52 books.
Oh, goodness.
Because so many people that listen to podcasts, they're like, one of my favorite things is all your book lists. So people, get ready because we've got some books for you. But also know this, if you're listening, don't scramble to get a pen and paper. But I'm going to list all of these on my website. So you can go to jamieivey.com, and they're all going to be there listed. You can find them on Amazon. So, and I'm going to see how many of your books, let me get a pen and paper, how many of your books I've ever read. So, we'll see. Okay, the first book you read this year was The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
Oh, I also want to know when I ask you about these, just like, yes, you liked it, no, blah, 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 whatever.
Okay.
So.
Yes, loved it. I picked it up, I think, because I've never done any C.S. Lewis, never read it. I know you're a big fan of reading it with your kids. And so I think I'd love to do that one day, read it with the kids. But I think I found it half price for like $2.
Oh, that's good.
And said, oh, this is a classic. Need to read it.
Is it the only one you read in the series so far?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good. There's one of my favorite ones is actually the one that comes before this book. And it's,
oh yeah, that's right.
I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's actually comes before this, and it's really, really good. So yes, I've read this one. So there's one, and I've read it to my kids, so it's great. Okay, the next one you read was Forgotten God by Francis Chan.
Yeah, I picked that up because we had my small group at church read Crazy Love, and I loved his writing. I really liked him as an author, and I think our friend Becca, recommended this to me a long time ago, and I also found it at half price for cheap. So yes, very good. Yes.
Him and his wife have a new book out now about marriage.
Yeah, I did see that.
I want to read it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one was Men We Reaped, a memoir by Jesmyn Ward. I've never even heard of this.
So a lot of Pinterest book lists, like a lot of these books will change your life lists, books you must read lists. Memoirs are my favorite genre. I know yours. Yes. Yeah. And it was so heartbreaking, this book. So good, so very raw and real. And it's about this woman who grew up in Louisiana who lost 5 men really close to her through drugs, through suicide, through murder, just really unfortunate circumstances, but true story. So good.
Sounds great. Okay, the next one you did was A Million Miles in 1,000 Years by Donald Miller, which here's one I have read.
Yeah, and I remember it doesn't stick out to me as book of the year. Loved it. But I had read Blue Like Jazz a long time ago.
Which I've never read of his, which seems like everyone has, but I haven't.
And then heard this one was supposed to be better. So I read it, but you know what? I probably couldn't tell you too much about it.
What I remember about this book. Isn't this the one where he hacks Machu Picchu?
Oh, yeah.
See, I just remember after that.
I know why I picked it up. Because I read Love Does by Bob Goff prior to 2014. Okay. So back in 2013, and they're besties.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I thought it was good. That's what I remember the most is that he hiked that, and it made me want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5 book you read was Restless by Jenny Ivey.
Yes, so good. Bought it, highlighted it, loved it.
So good. I've read that
Probably
one too.
Should read it again.
It's a good one. Okay, the next one is one I want to read, David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved him as an author. I read another book of his after that. I just like the short stories. I like books like Freakonomics that kind of explain life, sort of, kind of, why the underdog can win and why we should root for them and whatnot. So
that. It sounds good. I want to read it.
Yeah.
The next one you read, I read last summer. It was one of my favorite books ever.
I think I heard of it from you, and then saw it for like $6 at Barnes and Noble, and
it's called The Language of Flowers by Vanessa Diffenbaugh. I'm not sure how to say her name, but such a good book.
Yeah, very good. It's quick read too,
and just beautiful. Beautiful. It's about a girl who grows up in the foster system, basically, and just changes her life. It's so good. Okay, the next one is by Malcolm Gladwell as well, The Tipping Point, How Little Things Can Make a Big Difference.
Yeah, so similar thing, economics, Freakonomics.
Those sounds like things I would like just interesting things.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, I read this one as well. Was this for book club? The Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom.
I mean, Megan recommended it. It was very good.
I liked it.
Yeah, nonfiction, but historical nonfiction, which I also love. Is another favorite genre. Yeah.
I recommend it's good. And I read the next one too. It's called Sparkly Green Earrings by Melanie Schenkel.
Yeah. It was a take it or leave it for me. Yeah.
It's a memoir-ish too. Like she's a really famous, well-known blogger. And so it probably seemed a little bit like that. And this one was about marriage?
Her daughter.
Or parenting.
Yeah.
So she has one by marriage as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Sparkly Green Earrings. Okay, the next one, I read this one as well. It's called I Will Carry You by Angie Smith.
I mean, that was stay up all night, cry into your pillow.
Yes. If you don't, I mean, this is Angie Smith. I followed her through this. It's when I lived in Nashville. Her and her husband she was carrying a child that they knew was not going to survive very long after birth.
Ugh.
And so it's just that whole story. And man, I tell you, it was so good. And I would recommend this book to anyone going through suffering, even if it's not about your child. Like she had some really strong points about God's grace through that and God's provision. I highly recommend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so good. But get out the tissues.
Get out the tissues for even it's going to happen, and you just cry.
Yeah.
The next one is Free Fall to Fly by Rebecca Lyons, and I haven't read this, but it's on my list.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I picked it up because I saw her give her talk at IF gathering, and thought that she was just a very real, unique gal, and wanted to pick up her book and read it, and it was a good story about her anxiety, and it's more than her anxiety, but continue to struggle a lot with anxiety. So it was just good to read a real, true woman's, how she dealt with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, next is A Loving Life by Paul Miller. And I haven't read this, but I've read A Praying Life, and it's a book I recommend everyone read in their lifetime.
Yes. Yeah. So I picked it up because, I read A Praying Life, and I really I just wanted to learn and read more about how to love people well in certain situations, in their times of joy and their times of sorrow, how to be there for people. And at the time that I read this, I had a friend going through a really hard medical time of having a few miscarriages, and I just kind of wanted to know how to really be there for people going through hard times in my life, not just for that situation, but I knew, I was going to have friends and family and me that go through difficult times and good times and celebratory times. So I would absolutely recommend it. That's a highlighting own.
It's when you want to own it. You want to buy it. Yeah. Okay, the next one is The Rosie Project.
That one was so cute. Got it from one of my little lists.
Fiction?
Yes.
Okay.
It's set in Australia. It's an Australian author. Just super cute little love story. Quick read. Okay. Cute characters.
Awesome. Okay, the next one was The Whole Brain Child.
This
seems kind of like a lot.
So this was when I was like, my son needs discipline. I need to know. I can't just wing this anymore. Right. I need some expertise. And just wanted to kind of read more, learn more about parenting well.
And did it help you?
It did. And there were good things to take from it. It helped a lot of the way I talk to him, words I use, things like that. But also helped for, hey, when I want to be a teacher again.
Yeah, The Whole Brain Child.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, the next one was The Reason I Jump.
Oh, that one is about, it's told by a boy with autism. And so it's very short, 2-page chapters about, what is going on in his head and the reason he does the things he does and how he feels. And it was super interesting. And I read that also when I was a teacher. I was always the inclusion teacher in my schools, and always the ESL teacher, and had a lot of kids that were on the spectrum and dealt with putting kids through services and that kind of thing. So another good one to just have perspective.
That sounds interesting. I think I'm going to pick that up.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one was Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. Good?
So good, because I am very much an introvert. I'm not I shy away from parties and large gatherings and those sorts of things. Right. So I thought, hey, let me read about myself.
Was it good?
Why am I the way I am?
Did you relate to a lot of it?
Yes, I did.
Maybe I need to get that for Aaron. My husband, you would not think he's an introvert, but he really does tend to be an introvert. He plays extrovert very well.
Yes, you say that a lot.
He is an introvert for sure. Maybe I should get that book for him.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should read it to understand him more.
Yeah, and that's another kind of reference-y one that you would want to highlight? I think I picked it up because I saw her TED Talk.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So she gave a TED Talk on it.
Okay, the next one is Christ in the Chaos by Kim Crandall. And just this title, I need this in my life. What is this?
Well, I was learning how to discipline a child and then realized how chaotic it was to have a kid. And I think this was probably about the time that I found out that I was pregnant with our second one.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get this under control now.
Yeah, motherhood was nutty. And like I've said before, like I have a hard time giving myself grace and parenting and just relying on God in that versus my abilities to parent well. And I think I saw it on Amazon and it was like $2 for Kindle. So just snagged it.
Good. Okay. The next one that you did was The Husband's Secret.
Yeah, a lot of people like this one. So I read a lot of her book, probably 3 of her books, Leanne Moriarty. So good, quick read, fiction. She is a neat author because she, I think, develops just the most unique characters.
It seems like a good vacation read.
Yes, yeah. And her characters are super quirky. I think she develops them really well in all of her books that I've read. And that was I've known a lot of people that have read it.
That's awesome. Okay, the next one is Parenting with Love and Logic.
Yes, another parenting book.
I haven't read this book at all, but at our school, the school that my kids go to, they send home something every month, and it gives a tip about parenting with love and logic. So yeah.
Yes, that's been very good for us.
Okay,
We've
good.
used a lot of the tips. So good. For sure, toddlers.
Okay, the next one is Bread and Wine from Shawnee Nischwitz.
Yeah. The other thing I love as much as books is food and cooking.
Yes.
So this was awesome. And I, as soon as I finished it, made a ton of her recipes. They were all
this book is interesting because she's like you would call it a memoir type book for sure. And she's short essays, but she includes recipes. And a lot of this book, it's about what her family's done around the table. And I love her writing. I love it. I love all her books. And so this was maybe one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was a good one. I gifted it to a few people.
Yes, I have too. It's so wonderful. And there's so much stuff in there. And her husband's gluten-free. And so it's great because there's a lot of recipes in there that are gluten-free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers.
So have you read it?
I have.
Okay.
I read it a long time ago. I'm surprised that you haven't read it.
It was it was a classic. I guess that I think my sister-in-law gave it to me, and it was just big and intimidating.
Yes.
Right? And so I just kind of shelved it for a while and then picked it up, and oh my gosh, so huge, but poured through it in probably 2 days.
Yeah.
I stayed up one morning till 3 a.m. in sobbing tears reading this.
It's so good. I usually am not a fan of Christian fiction.
No.
But this is so good.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. Good classic.
Okay, the next one is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me by Mindy Kaling. Yeah.
So I needed something easier, lighter.
Yes. You've been reading parenting books and Redeeming Love. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's just funny.
It's funny. It's an easy read too.
Yes. Laugh out loud.
Yeah. Okay, next is Life of Pi.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah. So I think at the beginning of summer, I threw out on Instagram hey, give me some nonfiction book recommendations. One of my friends from high school put it up there, and I searched it on the library, and they had it. And so I got it and read it, and it was good. And the movie was good. And, it's also kind of a classic.
I know,
a high school read.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good.
Okay, the next one is What Alice Forgot. It's by that same author that wrote The Husband's Secret.
Yeah. So another good one. I mean, quick vacation read, good characters.
I think I heard someone saying they were just doing that in their book club. So I'm going to add that to my list. Okay, the next one is Girls Like Us, which I've read. And if you listen to my podcast, you've heard me talk about it so many times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would say it's one of the best books I've ever read. It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about sex trafficking. So I've talked about it enough. We'll move on. People are like, don't talk about that book again.
Go back
the
to
next
the podcast.
one is Hard Choices by Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. So I picked this up when it first came out, her book, and I just, I really like history, politics a lot. And because hers was about when she was Secretary of State, it was kind of like a current history that I've lived.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me 3 weeks to read. It was the longest book I've read. It was probably 700 pages, but just gives you good perspective on the world, on politics, on the choices our leaders make. And I just really wanted to know more about her.
I like books about people that you don't really know much about. Like you see them in the public eye, and I'm not talking about movie stars, but like you see them in the public eye, politicians, and then you read these books that they write, and you're like, man, they're real people. Like they have to make real choices that affect a lot of people, and I like books like that as well. I'm gonna have to pick that up.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is The Circle Maker by Mark Batterson.
Mm-hmm. My aunt recommended it to me and sent it to me, and told me to read it, and it was a good read about prayer, and it was good. It was good.
Yeah. Okay. Next was It Starts with Food. Discover the Whole 30.
So good. That was
so good.
One of my top 5 of the year. Definitely kind of game changer as far as how one looks at food and whatnot. So I didn't read it to necessarily do this Whole 30 eating plan, but just to, again, be more educated on it. Should our family, I was pregnant at the time. No way I was going Whole 30 with my pregnancy cravings. But should our family want to do some sort of detox, if you will, change some eating habits, just very good.
Okay, that's
a good science. Yeah.
Okay, the next one was Carry On Warrior by Glennon Melton.
Yeah. So we've talked about this.
I've read it.
Yeah, good. Another good one about grace and parenting a lot is what I kind of attach to, mostly with stories.
Good. She's a good writer too.
She's just very real.
Yeah, she's very real, and she's very great in real life as well. Okay, the next one is Women of the Word by Jen Wilkin.
And I got that from your podcast.
She was on a podcast.
I'm a big Happy Hour blog podcast.
Yay, thanks. Jen Wilkin was on a podcast, and she was one of my favorite guests also as well.
Yeah.
She talks a lot about parenting and women studying the Bible and stuff. So
yeah.
Did you like the book?
Loved it. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I liked it too. I recommend it a lot as well. Okay, the next is The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. How do you say her last name?
Kingsolver?
I've started this book and never finished.
It was good. Another kind of like epic read. Another one that you've always heard about, you know, kind of classic, if you will.
I need to get that out and try again.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Set in the Congo. A good vacation read. Probably not going to finish it in a day by the pool, but a good longer vacation read.
Yeah. Okay, next was Where'd You Go, Bernadette, which I've heard a lot about this. Was it good?
It was cute.
Just simple, quick read.
Yeah, very simple. Yeah, this is like a good read beside the pool book. You know, cute, unique characters.
Okay.
I had heard a lot about it, so picked it up.
Awesome. Okay, your next one, which this is one of my all-time favorite books I've ever read in my entire life.
Yes.
It's called Left to Tell, Discovering God Amidst the Rwandan Holocaust by Immaculée, and I don't know how to say her last name either.
Yeah. I mean, a memoir, again, so heavy. I mean, gosh, this woman's amazing. For sure, one of my top 5 books of the year.
I recommend this to everyone.
Get educated.
She lived through the Rwandan Holocaust, and just the way she lived through it is just unbelievable and amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, crazy. Yeah. Such a good book.
Yeah. I mean, God, that's how she did. There's no other way.
So good. Okay, the next one is Orphan Train.
It was good. I would probably take it or leave it, kind of 3.
Okay.
But I know a lot of people that loved it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, next is Sacred Marriage by Gary Thomas.
Yeah, so this is my second time to read this book. I read it before I was married, and then my small group at church went through this. So this was a 12-week long study that we did.
Okay, just recently when you read it this time?
Yeah, we went through it like chapter at a time, small group questions. So definitely good to read with a spouse or also in a group setting with other spouses.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next is the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. Never heard of this.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought everyone knew. This was another one on those book lists about,
what you should read. And, yeah.
Top.
Did you like it?
Books that will change your. It was about told from the perspective of a boy with autism.
Oh, that's two you read this year like that.
Yeah, super. I thought it was really good, really well done.
Okay,
yeah.
Next is How Toddlers Thrive.
Yeah, my last parenting book of the year, I promise.
How was this
one? Very good. I would say probably of the 3 parenting books I've read, probably this one was the most applicable.
Okay.
It talked a lot about sharing and what toddlers are capable of and what they're not, and what parents expect them to do versus what their brains are actually wired to do. So that kind of gave me some really good insight into a 2-year-old.
Okay, good. Okay, your next one is Treasuring Christ When Your Hands Are Full by Gloria Furman.
Which I won on the podcast.
You were one of the winners. Yay. Yeah. Gloria was on our show, on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. A couple of months ago, I don't remember where. And she's also fabulous. She, her and her husband live in Dubai, and he's a pastor. It's just great. So she's written, I think, 3 books or so, but this is one of them. This is actually one I don't think I have read.
Yeah, so good. For being a new mom, I still think I'm a new mom, absolutely, and expecting another one. And my gosh, so many good truths. If you are like in the thick of parenting little ones and feel like you cannot get your head above water.
She just does a great job of bringing the gospel into everything.
Yes.
Which is such it's something I need because, I said earlier when I felt like, I'm not providing for my family in a good way, blah, 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 blah. It's just I wasn't looking at my life through a gospel lens, and she does that so well. Yeah,
so much already in the past 3 weeks when I'm glued to a couch with a baby that I can't get out of my hands.
Right.
I'm just saying, repeating to myself things that she said, and it's been awesome. Yeah. I've gifted it to a few people too.
That would be a great gift for new moms. Okay, Me Before You by JoJo Moyes.
Ooh, this one is super intriguing. Okay. I would definitely recommend it. It was on a bunch of lists.
I like the cover, and that means a lot.
In short, so it's set in England. It's about a man who is a quadriplegic who used to be a world-conquering kind of guy, skydiver and big daredevil, became a quadriplegic and has this caregiver, and it's about their story and his desire to end his life because he's not who he used to be.
Right. Oh. Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Okay.
Very much fiction, but super thought-provoking.
Okay, that sounds like something I want to get. Okay, definitely. The next one is Tattoos on the Heart by Gregory Boyle.
So also kind of a memoir. This Catholic priest in Los Angeles and his work with the gangs in Los Angeles and his stories. I would say it's a quick read, short chapters. Very good.
Okay. Next, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart.
Top 5 for sure.
Yay.
Yes, it was young adult, which I'm not a big YA reader at all, but super good. Right. Really great ending. Suspenseful, fast read. You don't want to put it down.
Okay, I like that. Okay, the next one, I read this year. It's also one of my top books from this year. It's called 828, When Love Didn't Give Up by Larissa Murphy.
Yeah, it was super cheap on Kindle a few months ago, and I picked it up, and another great memoir, and I had known the story of this couple before. So it was good to kind of walk through their story. With them.
This couple, they were dating, and he was in a car accident that caused him to have a brain injury. And so the story kind of, it's told from her, and it goes through his recovery, and then they eventually got married, and he's not the same as he was when they were dating, physically for sure. And so it is such a good story. I highly recommend that as well.
Yes.
Okay, the next is The Invention of Wings by Sue Monk Kidd, which I see this everywhere, but I have no idea what it is.
It's another slavery era novel. Oprah on her book club list, also on a list. I thought it was really good. It's very epic-y as far as goes, through 50 plus years of life.
I like books like that.
Yeah. So definitely a good one. It's on lists for a reason.
Okay. If I Stay by Gail Forman, which this is on my list because
Womp womp.
No bueno. Is this the one they just made a movie about?
Yes, and it's very young adult.
Okay.
The dialogue is very
young adult.
Young.
Did you see the movie?
No, I'm not going to.
You have no desire to. Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, I read it, and then I had a friend say, "Oh, Linz, I wish I had warned you not to read that."
You're like, I just wasted.
I know.
Okay, the next one is Half the Sky. I want to read this.
So good. Just to be educated on the globe, the world, and oppression for women. This is definitely your kind of book.
The tagline is Turning Oppression into Opportunity for Women Worldwide. This has been on my list forever, and I need to just get it,
So
that's probably one I want to buy, right?
Yes, and they have another book called A Path Appears, which I'm like number 40 on the wait list from the library, and I am just so about to buy it because I'm so waiting for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Recommend.
The next one is Paper Towns by John Green.
I give it about a 2.5.
Is this young adult as well?
Yes.
Is John Green the guy that wrote?
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're thinking.
What's it called? They did the movie.
Cut you off. That was awful. What is? Everyone loves it.
I know. I read the book.
And
oh my gosh, look at us. I read the book and saw the movie.
Yeah.
Fault in Our Stars.
Yes.
Okay, so he wrote. So I know he's young adult. You didn't like it.
I didn't. This was a book that I was halfway through, and I kept telling my husband, I want this book to be over. Let this book end.
Those are the worst.
Yeah.
Okay, next is Defending Jacob by William Landay.
Top 5 book, not on any list. I had a friend recommend it to me. So good. Suspenseful.
Okay. Wow.
Really good ending. Thought-provoking. Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, next this is the third book I see this year by this author, Big Little Lies.
Yeah. So this one is probably the best of the 3 by Leanne Moriarty.
Okay.
But another
is this her newest?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So another quick, beachy read, bestseller.
Okay.
A lot of ladies liked it. Yeah.
Okay. The next is The Roundhouse.
Yeah. I picked this up because Megan recommended it years ago in book club. I saw it come around. I got it from the library, and it was very good. It's about a boy who grew up on an Indian reservation, and a story about his mom's rape and attempted murder, and trying to find out who did it. And yeah.
Okay. All right. The next one is The Lowland.
This one was set in India and United States. I love books set in India.
Okay.
I love India. We went there about a year and a half ago on a trip with our church.
See it and smell it when you read the book.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the best.
So
you liked it?
Yes, very good. Another epic goes through an entire life of these 2 brothers.
That's fun.
Yeah. Okay,
the next is Reconstructing Amelia.
So good. I guess it would be classified as young adult.
Okay.
It was kind of suspenseful about this girl's suicide, or was it a suicide?
Oh.
Set in a Brooklyn hoity-toity school.
Okay.
Just kind of a lifestyle I don't know anything about, so it gives you some insight into that.
Okay. It sounds like an episode of Law and Order SVU.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good.
Okay. Next is the Book of Unknown Americans.
So I just finished this one about a week ago, maybe not even a week ago. It was on Amazon's book list of 2014, and it was so good. It's about Central and South American who come to the United States in search of a better life, and kind of what life is like for them. It's a fiction novel, but very well done. Very good book.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, and then the book that you read last.
Yeah, so I finished this book yesterday.
Everything I Never Told You.
Yes, also on like an Amazon top book of the year list. So good. I would probably now throw this into my top 5.
But you'd already made your top 5 before you finished it?
I know, yeah.
Okay, we'll make it a top 6.
Yeah, very good book. A novel about another girl's suicide. What is
2
my
in a row?
Death in my books and how did they die stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're recording this on December 22nd. Are you going to read any more books in the next 9 days?
Yeah, because I can't not have a book. So I'm reading right now Eleanor and Park, which is young adult.
Okay.
And I have a few left on my Kindle. But the reason I can't not read a book right now is because I'm up 2 and 3 times a night.
Yeah.
Feeding a baby.
Uh-huh.
What am I going to do?
Right.
It's only so much Instagram you
That's
can
exactly
look
right.
at. I need something to do. So this is how I am plowing through books right now is feeding a 3-week-old.
Okay, so are you going to make a goal for 2015?
I don't know. I kind of don't want to set myself up for what if I don't do it, because I'm very much, if I say I'm going to do something, I better do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll probably keep reading, maybe just as prolifically. I don't know, but I'm not going to say I'm going to read 52.
Okay. I love it.
So we'll see.
Okay. I love all your books. Can you remind me, do you have it written down what your top 5 are?
Yes. So here, let me see. I think I have it written down. Okay. Top 5 would be Defending Jacob would probably be my number 1. We Were Liars. Half the Sky. Left to Tell. It Starts with Food.
Okay. Top 5.
And then we'll go ahead and throw number 6 tied for 5.
Yes.
Everything I Never Told You.
Okay. I'm going to put all of those books, ones that I haven't told, on the top of my reading list for 2015.
Yeah.
Because I trust you.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to just read my books out loud that I read, because a lot of them are the same, and then I just want to go through them. I read Glimpses of Grace by Gloria Furman. So good. You Are a Writer by Jeff Goings. I Will Carry You by Angie Smith. Restless, Jenny Allen. I read Princess Sultana's Daughters by Jean Sasson. Have you read any of hers?
Yeah, those 3 books. Yes.
Yep, there's 3 of them. I don't think I've read the 3rd one.
Yeah.
The Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom, which you read. Notes from a Blue Bike by Tish Oxenreider. Have you seen that?
I've heard of it, yeah.
It was good. It was good. Let me get to my next after that. Let's see. Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. Good book. Carry On Warrior, like you, from Glennon. The Antelope in the Living Room by Melanie Schenkel, which is her other book that's about marriage.
Right.
I Was Told There'd Be Cake by Sloane Crossley. That's a good little essay, short essays, so it's easy to read. Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which the movie just came out, so I'm excited to see that. I'm on the
fence about that one.
Like, you read it or you don't know you want to?
I don't know if I should.
I liked it.
Is it very, like, solitary, just about her and her thoughts?
No, it's crazy what she did. And so it wasn't, like, one of my most favorite books that I ever read. And honestly, it got a little monotonous. I was ready for it to be over.
Okay.
But on the other hand, it was good. And it was crazy what she did and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I think I gave it 3 stars.
Okay.
So,
I'm kind of on the fence about picking that one up.
I like to read books that I'm going to go see the movie because it makes me just feel better about myself.
Yeah.
Let's Explore Diabetes with Owls by David Sedaris. Have you ever read any of his stuff?
No.
Oh, it's funny. And then I read The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Bossy Pants, Tina Fey. I read Harry Potter, the first one. Popular by Tyndale Baldwin. Great for teenagers and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Divergent.
I've done that one.
And then the second one, Harry Potter. And then I read Let's All Be Brave by Annie Downs, Girls Like Us, Rachel Lloyd, Enough by Kate Connor, which is a great book for teenage girls.
Oh, I loved her I loved her.
Oh, yeah, she was on my podcast. She was great, too. 828, we talked about that. I read Forever Mom by Mary Osteen, which she was just on the podcast. Shame Interrupted by Edward Welch. I read 168 Hours. It's called 168 Hours You Have More Time Than You Think. It was really eye-opening and good. And I skimmed a lot of it, but it was really good. The Minister's Daughter by Julie Hearn.
Ooh.
It's kind of set in a different
novel
time period. Yeah, novel, historical fiction. And then I read The Glass Castle
Oh, I've read that one.
So good.
Yeah.
That was my 2014. I'm going to make a challenge to myself for 2015.
Yeah, so what are you going to do?
Well, how many did I say I read this year?
28.
Okay, I was going to challenge myself to read 24, but that seems lame if I read 28 this year.
Yeah. You've said
Maybe I should do 30.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Do 36.
36 books in 1 year? Do you think I can do that?
Or do 37 by 37?
No, I turned 37 in May.
Oh.
Maybe I could just do 36 in a year.
Yeah.
I count if I listen to it on tape though as well.
Oh yeah.
That definitely counts.
You put time in.
Put time in, yes.
Maybe you won't get distracted by Serial.
Since it's over.
Yeah. Maybe they won't put a new one out.
Were you happy with the ending?
I haven't finished. I'm halfway through the last episode.
Okay.
So I don't know yet.
Okay.
But I love it.
I won't say anything.
It was so good.
I know. I liked it a lot too. I remember when it first, 4 or 5 episodes in, I was like, if we get to the end of this and he's still in jail, I'll be pissed. Not because I want him to be free, but I'm just like, we need some kind of resolution here. But now I've kind of taken it in that it was great journalism and a good story, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, anyhow. Fun. Okay. I think now that I've said it, I have to do it. 36 books.
Yeah.
That
you
seems
could do
so
it.
Crazy.
You've said it's gotten easier. You've read more every year.
I've read more every year. 36 it is. And I wonder if Goodreads is going to do that little challenge where you sign up.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I keep a list of my books on Goodreads. It helps me because when someone's like, hey, what's a good book I should read? I'm just like, let me look and see what I read recently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I tell people all the time, go to my Goodreads, look. Or I did record them all on Instagram with a little hashtag.
Yeah, what was your hashtag?
It was hashtag Lindsey Reads 2014.
Yeah, that was good. Maybe I'll start that hashtag for mine in 2015.
Yeah. It's a good way because then people click on it and there they all are.
And there they are. That's true. Okay, then we can go back and see all your books too. Do you leave your thoughts or just the book?
Just the book because I post it before I start it.
Oh, okay. Like this one reading next.
Yeah. So I've had people say, well, give me the review of it.
Yeah.
And there I say, go to Goodreads. I rated it.
There you go. Oh. Okay, Lindsey, it's been so fun chatting with you about books. That's so fun. I love books. And we need to make Megan start our book club up again.
I know. I've got a lot of recommendations, Megan.
Yeah, hello. So anyhow, I'm going to put all of these books up on my website. So if you are wanting to hear them, don't worry. They're going to be up at jamieivey.com. And I would love to hear from you. If you're in a book club, what did y'all read last year that was your best? So leave me a comment. Let us know. Lindsey, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So fun. All right. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening. There's your book list for 2015 if you need any books. I'm going to try to read 36 books this year. Come find me on Goodreads and we can be friends. I'd love it if you connect with me on social media. I love Instagram. I'm at Jamie Ivey. Twitter, I'm at Jamie_Ivey. Tweet a picture of where you're listening to the happy hour. Use the hashtag where I listen to the happy hour. That'll be so much fun to see that. Guys, I hope you have a great day. Enjoy this podcast. Enjoy Lindsey. Go read some more. I always tell my kids, readers are leaders. I don't know where I heard that, but that's what I like to say. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, I'd love it if you subscribed on iTunes. It just helps people find it better. If you leave a comment, it helps people find it better as well. As I mentioned before, all of these books are listed on my blog over at jamieivey.com. Guys, thanks a lot. I want to say a special thank you to Jessica for leaving a comment on my blog. She said this podcast was super fun to listen to and a less than thrilling day of office work. Love listening to your outgoing souls just chat about life. Thanks, Jamie, for taking time for all these podcasts. Love them. Jessica, thanks for listening. All of you guys, thanks for listening, and I will see you next week. Have a great day.